So the first section of this is the why. Why do you actually want to get a six-pack? What's the deep reason? When I've been working with hundreds of people, thousands of people over the last 7 years, I've noticed a common thread or a common denominator. If someone says, I want to lose weight or I want to have a six-pack, and that's their motive, which it isn't. If that is what their motive is, I just want a six-pack, I'm doing it for aesthetic reasons. By the way, that's fine, but there's always a deeper reason. If it's just that, the superficial meaning, then you never go through with it. I've had clients who will never get past the first 2 weeks of training if the motive is simply the six-pack. So what I always do is say, why do you want a six-pack? Because I want to feel better in myself. Why do you want to feel better in yourself? Because I felt lousy for the past 2 years. Why have you felt lousy for the past 2 years? I had a rubbish breakup about 2 years ago. Knocked my confidence, put on loads of weight. Why do you think you had a confidence knock from the breakup? Because I was always put down in the relationship. I had to end it because my mental health was suffering. Why do you think you were being put down? And then we go down this rabbit hole. I don't do this for hours, by the way. But what you do and what you get to is the deeper meaning, the deeper motive, the emotion behind the six-pack. The six-pack isn't the motive. There's always another layer, and then another layer, and then another layer of meaning. And that's the driving force. That's what's going to get you to the gym. That's what's going to maintain the consistency of your diet. That's what's going to pursue your energy, your motivation to get to that six-pack. So I'm asking you right now, if you do want a six-pack, what's your deep meaning? What is the deeper motive? And hey, it could be because I want to get more dates. Beautiful, that's a motive. You might not have had a date for a while. You might want to get back out on the scene, whatever the case. But you want to find that emotion behind the six-pack. Remember, the six-pack isn't the motive. That won't get you to the gym on that rainy 5 a.m. morning where you have to drag yourself out of bed on a winter's day. What will is, man, I haven't had a date for probably 2 years. I'm not feeling great in my body. I really want to get this. I really want to push my body. I want to see where I can get to. That's what's going to get you out of bed. Another big consideration is genetic influence, which simply cannot be ignored. A lot of six-packs do have a huge genetic component to them. Some people can look at a weight and instantly be jacked. Popeye, look like Hercules. Just look at it. Ah, beautiful. Don't even need to do anything. Out of the gym. Some of us will need to train very, very hard to get to a certain level of aesthetics. And that is fine. Remember, genetics will play a huge part, and it simply cannot be ignored. Remember, we are all on nature's scale, but we can be nurtured. So genetics alone shouldn't be a deciding factor whether you pursue the goal of getting a six-pack or if you give up before even trying. Don't let genetics play that part, play a huge influence on your decision-making. But you have to keep it into account that if you don't have certain genetics, if you're not blessed with certain genetics straight away off the bat, where you can just look at a weight and you're jacked, have an 8-pack, then you have to take that into consideration. You have to be realistic in terms of certain goals. So don't beat yourself up. Don't use that as an excuse not to try, but keep that in mind that you might have to really put the work in for you to obtain that six-pack, whereas other people might find it very easy. So this is the key thing here. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. It is pointless. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and chase the person that you want to be tomorrow. It's you versus you. Other people's aesthetics has nothing to do with you because we are all so different. And the last consideration I want you to think about is to be aware of social media and posts and magazines because they are all splish-splashed. They've all been edited, photoshopped, fancy lighting put in. The natural picture is way different to the finished product. And another key thing to consider, a lot of those abdominals have been heavily influenced by PEDs, so performance enhancing drugs and steroids, or what I call vitamin S. It's selling you and flaunting you a very fake view, a very fake picture, and misleading what health looks like. Just because you have a six-pack does not mean that you are healthy. You could have a six-pack, you could be training hard, but hey, mate, if you're rude to the waiter or waitress when you go for dinner with your date, and that six-pack does nothing. You might have a six-pack but absolutely miserable on the inside because you've dedicated and restricted yourself so much for these abs. For what? Deep misery within you. Just please don't be fooled by the mockery and the heavily photoshopped viewing of the abs which social media portrays, and the media portrays as healthy. It's the healthy look to be on the magazine, ripped. That doesn't equate to health. So please don't associate abdominals with being healthy, and just keep in mind behind the scenes what goes on with putting photos out there with abdominals and how tricked your mind can be on the pursuit to getting these abs. And once again, compare yourself to yourself. And the last consideration, abs, abdominals, six-pack, that won't make you happy. I consider it like running a marathon or doing something big, a big event. You get to the finish line. Yes, you will be super happy that you finished the race or finished the event, but what you will reflect on and what will stay in your mind forever is what you did to get to that finish line. Getting up at 5 a.m. to train for the last 6 months, being consistent with your diet, lots of vegetables, high protein for the last 6 months, and not going out boozing as much. Getting to bed on time when you really didn't want to, you wanted to watch Netflix, you wanted to do all the other things instead of going to bed. Those things stay in your life forever. Those things are the building blocks to the character that you are now, to the character that finished that race. So you always reflect on the character building as opposed to the character that is built at the end of the race. You always remember the bits you did to get to the finish line. Of course, once again, you've got to the finish line, you're very proud of yourself. But deep down, you're proud of all the steps you took to get to that finish line. It's exactly the same as getting a six-pack. Once you get a six-pack, are you going to be happier? Probably not. What will make you happier is all the things that you've done preceding the six-pack. Again, getting to the gym early, getting to the gym when you didn't want to, working out 3 to 4 to 5 times a week, eating consistently, getting to bed on time. All of those things, the character building, is what you're going to be proud of. Be proud of the person that you're becoming. Don't think about the person you will be when you get the six-pack, because you won't be any happier. You will be happier by the character that you're building all the way to that six-pack.